Well, here we are once again. It's another Enough Already podcast. I'm Fingers Malloy. Big news today. Joe Biden announced who his running mate is, and it's Tracy Connors.
The sad part is I didn't even bet on myself on Predict It.
My money was on you.
Oh, did he actually announce? Because I just looked at Predict It, and before I left my office, Susan Rice was trading at 50 cents, and now she's trading at a penny.
Oh.
So, and Kamala Harris is trading at 89 cents.
Well, let's see here.
Yep, it says I'm seeing tweets. He just picked Kamala Harris for VP.
Well, that's fantastic news. All those law and order Democrats in their base have to be thrilled that Kamala Harris is the pick.
Yes, and just so everybody that heard me rant about deep state connections and how that meant Susan Rice was going to be a shoo-in, I'd like to point out that I also Googled Kamala Harris after the fact, and I found out that her sister, who was her campaign manager, is in fact a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. So the deep state still got their hooks in there. And Joe Biden is, of course, a member of the Council on Foreign Relations.
Well, we need to find out about that salad bar.
I know.
I mean, how long can they keep that secret?
Well, they've kept a lot of stuff secret for a very long time, so.
This is true. Well, that's huge news. We're recording on Tuesday afternoon, a day early for us, 4:20 p.m. Eastern time. So the announcement was made. Well, at least I don't know if he made the official announcement or if this is just leaked information at this point.
Well, let's check the old, let's see that the CNN headlines have already gotten it. Biden has selected Kamala Harris as his running mate.
Oh, it's very
made
exciting.
The announcement today.
Well, they have made the announcement as far as some of the main speakers for the Democratic National Convention. And surprise, surprise, Bill Clinton will be there.
I am surprised.
That's early reports are that he's going to make a speech, which...
Oh, no, they've officially put out the speakers lineup and he's on it. Amazing.
Simply amazing. Not going to run away from that whole Epstein Island rumor at all. We're just going to show up.
He's taking the Lolita Express right to the DNC, or he's maybe coming from Chappaqua. Who knows if anybody's even going to this place. So it was announced via tweet.
Yes.
This is how we do things. Here's the tweet. I have the great honor to announce that I've picked Kamala Harris, a fearless fighter for the little guy, except for the ones with truant children, and one of the country's finest public servants as my running mate. Back when Kamala was Attorney General, she worked closely with Beau, who Hunter stole his AG badge and left it in a rental car along with crack cocaine in Arizona, but we won't talk about that. I watched as they took on the big banks, lifted up working people, and protected women and kids from abuse, except from the prosecutor's office if your child was truant. I was proud then, and I'm proud now to have her as my partner in this campaign.
Are they going to have to point her out to him when they meet for the for the big? Well, they're not going to be able to have a big gathering. You know, she's getting cheated out of her moment in the sun. You know, where they would probably go to Scranton. He's from Scranton, right? Scranton.
Yes.
Yeah. Go to Scranton to make the big announcement. Listen, I got to tell you, this is very exciting news especially for fence sitters in battleground states that he announced a California lib to be his running mate. People have to be thrilled in Ohio and in Michigan and in Pennsylvania. This is going to bring him the White House. He's going to flip these states just based on this announcement. Does anybody really care about the running mate?
Well, you do when the top of the ticket has mashed potatoes for brains. And is old, and now we're supposed to celebrate the fact that he rode a bicycle over the weekend. That proves that he's competent enough to... He didn't wear a helmet, mind you.
Right.
The guy with, potential brain problems that's in his late 70s.
Listen,
Not wearing a helmet.
running for president while senile is easy as riding a bike. Wow. This is fantastic. This is going to be so much fun to watch.
You think?
It would even be more fun to watch if this weren't your country.
You can just pretend it's not. I mean, That's kind of how I feel about the whole situation. Is it my country anymore? I don't know. We've got a con man reality TV show host that I'm going to gladly be voting for in a couple months. And then we've got Mashed Potato Brain and his sidekick, the cop.
Wow. This is simply amazing. I don't know if this is a play. This is such a strange pick because so much of the Democratic base, we've talked about this, is, they're running around saying defund the police, defund the police. And, is this his way of moving to the center? Because here you had the last couple of days, the things that have been going on in Chicago have been appalling. What do they call it? The Magnificent Mile? I'm not a shopper, Tracy. But
it's called the Magnificent Mile.
Yeah, just high-end shops. As far as the eye can see, they were looted. Tesla dealership looted. I don't know what you're looking for in a Tesla dealership other than a Tesla. But still, they broke into the Tesla dealership. They went crazy. These people who are apparently avenging George Floyd's death. Tesla killed George Floyd, apparently.
No, it wasn't George Floyd. Let's be honest now. In Chicago, it was a different incident.
Was it?
Oh, yes.
I missed this.
Oh,
I'm
no,
sorry.
No.
I lose track.
No, there was actually a police-involved shooting in Chicago.
Oh, is that what it was?
Over the weekend. But here's what I've been able to piece together. So the cops get a call that there's a guy with a gun. Mm-hmm. So they respond to the call. And they find what they said was a 20-year-old guy in an alley that matched the description they were given on the 911, what I assume is a 911 call.
Okay.
So the cops try to stop the guy, and he takes off running. They pursue him, and he starts shooting at the cops. So they return fire. The gentleman is still alive. They took him to the hospital. He's okay. None of the cops were shot in that exchange. But then what happens is rumors start spreading that it was a little kid and that he was unarmed.
Is this the whole 15-year-old was shot and then found out later there was no 15-year-old shot? Is that what?
Potentially.
I saw some of this on the Twitter box.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's what happened. And this happened in, one of the more suburban neighborhoods. And then people just loaded up in their cars and took off to go downtown and loot the Magnificent Mile. And so Chicago is divided by the river. Did you see these photos of all the drawbridges are up over the river so you can't get across? I mean, that's what it's come to.
Wow.
Yeah. And their mayor had to go out and freak out and tell them this has got to stop.
So to summarize, Tesla shot a young black man. Is that what that's what I'm to understand? Tesla and Saks Fifth Avenue, whatever else is on the Magnificent Mile. Target.
Yeah, well, now that we've figured out how to do screen sharing on this, I will show you this article that I had actually pulled up, which fits exactly into this. So this was from the New York Post. Black Lives Matter organizer calls Chicago looting reparation.
Oh, that's nice.
So a Chicago Black Lives Matter organizer defended widespread looting in the Windy City over the weekend, calling it, quote, reparation. This is a quote from the Black Lives Matter organizer. I don't care if somebody decides to loot a Gucci's or a Macy's or a Nike because that makes sure that person eats. Okay.
Oh, is this the whole AOC thing? So does Gucci carry loaves of bread? Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's fancy.
That makes sure that person has clothes. Clothes, I could see the argument if you're talking about looting Macy's and Gucci and Nike. Organizer Ariel Atkins said at a rally outside the South Loop police station on Monday. That's a reparation, Atkins said. Anything they want to take it, because these businesses have insurance, which we've already talked about.
Right.
So the rally was held in the wake of a violent weekend in the city that saw 100 arrests and 13 police officers injured after a 20-year-old man was shot and wounded by cops after firing at the officers. The violence prompted the city to deploy multiple layered security measures that will restrict access to downtown Chicago from, get this, 8 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, so we talk about, Trump's going to institute a police state. Here's the mayor of Chicago. The measures call for the bus services to be suspended, highway ramps to be closed, and all but 7 of the 18 loop bridges in the city remaining open with police checkpoints. Police also identified the man shot by officers, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so, and they're saying Atkins questions the police account of the incident that happened over the weekend.
Oh, of course.
Police say a lot of things, she said, but they didn't have their body cams on, which is apparently true. They didn't have body cameras. So I don't know how you're in the city like Chicago and you don't have body cams at this point, but.
No, this is just another example of you not denouncing violence, not denouncing looting. And in this case, it's almost encouraging, just justifying looting. And you're going to see these retail chains not coming back. There's a piece in the New York Times, either today or yesterday. Retail chains abandon Manhattan. It's unsustainable.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to this. Some national chains, both retail and restaurants, are closing outlets in New York City, which are struggling more than their branches elsewhere. And I'm going to skip through here. There's a money quote here that it's obvious. Michael Weinstein, the chief executive of Arc Restaurants, who owns Bryant Park Grill and Cafe and 19 other restaurants, said he will never open another restaurant in New York. There's no reason to do business in New York, Mr. Weinstein said. I can do the same volume in Florida in the same square feet as I would have in New York, with my expenses being much less. The idea was that branding and locations were important, but the expense of being in the city has overtaken the marketing group that says you have to be there. You've got it right there for people who are watching the podcast on YouTube at BitChute. I mean, you are already seeing.
Look at this.
For 4 months, the Victoria's Secret flagship store at Herald Square in Manhattan has been closed and not paying its $937,000 monthly rent. $1 million.
Yeah.
Just shy of $1 million.
Just to have a Victoria's Secret store. I mean, the margins can't be all that great on lingerie, especially when they have like the $5 bin. So they're not making that. That's to have that presence there.
Well, and the other thing too, Victoria's Secret is having a problem that Harley Davidson is having, and it's younger people aren't gravitating to that brand. I mean, you're not seeing. I mean, you can fill me in on this more than I know about it, because I don't know anything about Victoria's Secret and what's the other high end. Fredericks of Hollywood.
Mm-hmm. That's a little trashier. Although Les Wexner was the head of L Brands, and he's a big buddy with Epstein and Ghislaine, and might get roped into all of this very soon. But he stepped down as the CEO this year. So anyway, you were saying that younger people aren't gravitating towards those brands.
I mean, how much is a bra at Victoria's Secret?
Bras are expensive, period.
Yeah, but they're extra expensive there. And from what I'm told by, most women, they aren't built for a woman that maybe is a few pounds on the heavy side. And if you're
no fat chicks.
Yeah,
just like Lululemon. If you stop making clothes at a certain size, will people stop growing beyond that size? I don't know.
So, look, they were struggling before COVID, but you're seeing this impact that COVID has had.
Yeah.
Where, I think people are going to re-examine the huge office in a skyscraper in Manhattan. Why have it when we've been able to see people have been able to work from home and not miss a beat? And that spills over into the retail. And on top of that, the tourists. I mean, people aren't going to New York right now. Why would they? And you couple that with the violence in these cities and the mentality of the rioters say, well, we could just take whatever shit we want. The business has insurance. Why on earth would you subject yourself to paying $1 million a month for the privilege of being able to say my store was looted in Manhattan? It wasn't looted in Orlando. It was Manhattan. So I could, brag to my friends about that. We are going to see such a massive shift in attitudes and the ramifications of not just this pandemic, but this rioting, and in many ways rioting that has been condoned by one major political party. The impact of this is going to be long lasting, if not permanent, in many segments of the country. And to think that that's not possible, to think that this is all going to come back eventually. Ask Detroit.
Yeah.
Detroit got wiped out in the late 60s because of riots, and there are still shells of buildings that were very nice at one point that are still standing as evidence of what happened in the 60s. They weren't knocked down. I think I've told this story before, Tracy, when Detroit was going to host a Super Bowl. They had just built Ford Field, and when you build a new football stadium for the NFL, you're pretty much guaranteed to host at least one Super Bowl. This was my memory's failing me, probably around 2007, I'm guessing 2008, may have been a little earlier. There were still burned out buildings from the 60s riots, and they didn't know what to do because it's an eyesore. There was one proposal where they were going to put saran wrap around these buildings, and they would have corporate logos on it. So you'd be driving by what used to be a burned out house from the 60s that burned in the riots, and it would have a Frito-Lay logo on it to cover up.
That's what you want your brand associated with.
Yeah, exactly. So listen, a lot of these businesses, people may have the mentality they're going to come back. They aren't coming back.
No, why would they? It's not like the rents are going to go down. Exactly. I mean, they're going to have to eventually, but my God. And they said in that article that the landlords are looking at suing the tenants to get this back. Because later they talk about the Gap store near Rockefeller Center has stayed closed and has not paid its $264,000 a month rent. I'm thinking, how many outfits do they need to sell every month just to cover the rent?
So you have to figure that is just
it's marketing.
Well, yeah, they have to pull money from other stores and online.
It's revenue. A loss leader.
Yeah. That has to be the case, because there's no way you're going to be selling enough $10 T-shirts at the Gap no, I'm not thinking of Old Navy. The Gap is kind of pricey, isn't it? This may surprise you. I don't shop at the Gap.
It goes in that brand family. You've got Old Navy, then the Gap, and then Banana Republic. That's all under one brand. So the Banana Republic would be the high end of that. Gap is like medium range pricing.
I feel much more comfortable in a Hot Topic than I would a Banana Republic.
I think they'll weather the storm.
No, but it is. This is going to be what's really interesting to watch down the road. When what will these property values be like 4 or 5 years from now in Manhattan? I mean, will we see a 25% drop? Will it be more than that? I listen. There are always going to be New Yorkers who will want to go to their big office. It's just part of who they are. But this could be generational too.
Hmm.
Younger people may look at this and say, "Piss on this. Why do I want to be a part of this? I don't need this." Uh, I
Yeah, and you
don't
got to think
know.
about it. The only businesses that really need to stay, maybe the media companies, because they have such a huge footprint there, but they could easily pull up and go somewhere else. And then you've got Broadway, which isn't reopening until next year. I don't know if any of the film production stuff is happening in New
Well,
York.
they've already announced that. Well, I can understand in a way because that's not something I would think you could just flip a switch and start next week. I mean, people are going to
No.
have to rehearse again,
Yep.
and you'll have to do recasting. I'm sure not everyone is the star of a Broadway play. You've got people supporting cast that may have moved on, saying I can't afford to stay here.
Right. You got to think about it. Most of the actors and actresses, they're not getting paid a ton of money. They supplement it with a service industry job, and that's been decimated.
Well, that's been one of the main complaints about some of those service jobs, right? Is how do you expect someone to work in a McDonald's or a Starbucks in Manhattan to live in Manhattan? Like they can't
No.
afford it. I mean, um, it's you unless you share a studio with 5 other people. I mean,
Which
it's just
happens.
sure,
People
absolutely.
live in storage spaces there.
It's crazy. No, if you talk to people in Washington D.C., it's the same thing there. We've got plenty of friends that uh, either work on Capitol Hill or for think tanks, and they're like, "Oh yeah, me and my 2 other roommates share a 2-bedroom apartment or something if you can afford that," because Washington D.C. real estate is ridiculously expensive as well. So
Yeah, and those prices aren't coming down.
no, they'll
New
never come
York,
down.
LA, San Francisco, all maybe. DC, not so much.
I'll never forget my first eye-opening experience as to how most of Washington D.C. is recession-proof. Did my first conference at the tail end of the Great Recession, and I left Indianapolis, and the restaurants were doing okay. You could go into a bar, there'd be people in the bar. You would think it was the roaring 20s going around DC. It was like, recession. What recession? That's just the way it is when you sustain yourself based on sucking revenue from the rest of the country. And it's not like, oh, gee, that revenue goes away. If it just doesn't come via taxes, they're just going to print the money, which they've done for decades, and they're really doing now. So people still getting paid.
It's official. Joe Biden just started following Kamala Harris while we were recording. After
Oh,
he announced her, of course.
that's good news. There was speculation. It's funny when people are trying to be the first to figure out who the Veep pick will be. People go to great lengths to try to be the first person. I sent you a tweet last night from someone who was tracking private planes, and there was a private plane from South Bend
Mm-hmm.
flying towards the Joe Biden camp in, was it Wilmington, uh,
Yes.
Delaware. And so the speculation was, okay, well, South Bend. Oh, Mayor Pete. Oh, no, it can't be Mayor Pete. But wow, I saw people talking about, well, geez, Lansing, Michigan, the state capital, is 2 hours from South Bend. Maybe they drove Governor Whitmer. I truly thought Whitmer was going to be the pick until this whole COVID thing happened. And then once she started ruling Michigan with an iron fist, and you talk to most people up in Michigan who aren't diehard Democrats, they're all pissed off at her. So he needs Michigan. I mean, he's not in desperate need of Michigan, but it sure would make it a lot easier for Joe Biden if he carries the state of Michigan. chances are if he carries the state of Michigan, there's a good chance he carries Ohio too. And then at that point, Trump's done. But there was no way it was going to be Whitmer. So now we know Kamala Harris. This is so exciting. I cannot wait to listen.
What an anticlimactic thing. He just tweets it. We couldn't set up a basement Zoom. They can't be in the same room. It's not announced at the convention to big fanfare or anything.
He can't screw up a tweet because he's not tweeting.
That's true.
There are 5 people who looked over that tweet before it was sent to make sure that it wasn't screwed up. And he had no part of it. Of course they're going to announce it via Twitter. And it's sad. The whole thing is just sad. It's just sad, sad, sad.
Yeah. But now can she step up and tell everybody in the cities to knock it off?
No.
Does she have the authority to do that? You don't think so?
Again, what we started talking about earlier. Okay, is this a play to the middle for people who don't like their cities burning, who look at what's going on and they have not seen much from the Democratic Party denouncing the violence? Not very many Democrats getting in front of a camera saying this needs to stop and it needs to stop now. So is this a play to the middle where she'll come out and she'll say, hey, knock the shit off?
I think she might.
And if she does, will they listen? I think what it will do short term is it may embolden local Democrats, local mayors to say, okay, well, we've got the backing of the presidential ticket now. We can maybe crack down a little bit, but the base is going to be pissed. I mean, 2 weeks ago.
Their base is so divided, though. They're not giving anything to the far left. Right? They don't even get the second tier on the ticket.
No.
You know, they get none of their platform planks included.
Talk about a shit sandwich. They are relying totally on Trump hatred. And that may be enough. It may be enough. Either Trump hatred or Trump fatigue. That may be enough for them to win the election. But here you nominate Joe Biden. There were no far left progressives that were saying, oh, Joe Biden, that's our guy. That's who we need. We need ourselves some Joe Biden. So you throw him on and say, okay, he's going to be the nominee. And then you put Kamala Harris as his running mate when you've got so much of the base screaming, defund the police, defund the police. Okay, look, people are paid a lot of money to strategize, and they did polling apparently this was their person. Man, I'm telling you, I just from my limited observations of her,
Kamala.
Yeah, Kamala. I didn't think there was someone as phony as Hillary Clinton until Kamala stepped on the national stage. That laugh and just, oh, look at me, I'm going to dance. She pulls her little Ellen routine. I'm going to dance. You know, there was at least 1 or 2 videos where she was showing everybody how she would dance. And then she, oh, isn't there anyone authentic anymore other than Trump? And half of what Trump is authentically bad. I want authenticity, but I don't want someone ruled by their id constantly. You know, I say this to my kids. You don't have to put every thought that goes through your head on social media. I don't think that I should have to say that to the president of the United States. But he just can't help himself. I know you love it.
Yeah, I just think it's hilarious. I think the whole system is a joke. I got into it with some lefty idiot on Twitter the other day because I can't remember. I saw he had tweeted some meme at somebody that was like truth matters. And it had this, it was an interactive GIF that had a syringe shooting Lysol into something. And I was like, well, that's funny to champion truth when like you're by pushing a meme that's a lie. And then this started this back and forth with this trolly idiot. And I was just like, oh, okay, we can keep doing this all day long. And he's like, Trump lies, like it's all lies, lies. And I'm like, yes, all politicians lie all the time. And he was like, he lies, he enriches his family, he doesn't listen to experts. And it's like, all politicians lie. They only listen to the experts who agree with them, and they're all enrich their families. And then he's like, look at this, he's an embarrassment on the world stage. They're laughing at him. And I'm like, you're trying to upset me by telling me that other countries' lying thieves are laughing at our lying thief? I'm not moved. He wants to destroy the Constitution. I'm like, so do I. Don't come at me. And he just kept he didn't know where to go. He just kept tweeting memes at me. And I was like, your brain is broken, that all you can do is kick out word pictures at me. And he hashtag like Trump can't ride a bicycle. I'm like, oh, really? Like you guys are hanging your hats on this? All right, that was fun.
When the bar's so low, when you celebrate seeing your candidate riding a bicycle, that excites you.
Yes.
Was he wearing Obama's mom jeans while he was riding the bike? I didn't get a good look at it.
All I could focus on was him wearing a mask while he was riding a bike.
With like no helmet.
Right. He's safe. No coronavirus, but we don't need to protect his head for any reason.
Well, by the way, this is where I'm going to praise him. Thank you for not wearing a helmet.
But when you're that old, you should probably wear a helmet. These are the people that were bitching about Trump setting a good example by wearing a mask. How am I supposed to explain to my non-existent children fingers that they have to wear helmets if Joe Biden doesn't wear a helmet? What am I supposed to tell my 4-year-old?
That you're into selective outrage.
Exactly. The Trump campaign already has an anti-Kamala Harris ad out. They're saying that Joe Biden is basically dead, so slow Joe, and what are they calling her? All right, let's just play this bitch, because this was amazing. It's already been out for 10 minutes, fingers.
Well, I'm sure they had it.
They were ready to roll.
Yeah.
Here we go. All right, let's hope that the sound's on this time around. Or Zoom defaulted to annoying, but we can also read it. Can you hear it?
No, Zoom. Zoom.
Now I got to remember how to do it. Zoom, you're so annoying. So I'll just read it to you because it's like Kamala Harris ran for president by moving to the radical left, embracing Bernie's plan for socialized medicine, calling for trillions in new taxes, attacking Joe Biden for racist policies. Voters rejected Harris and smartly spotted a phony, but not Joe. He's not that smart. Oh my God. Biden calls himself a transition candidate. He's handing over the reins to Kamala Harris while they jointly embrace the radical left. And they've got a picture of Bernie Sanders and Ilhan Omar. Slow Joe and phony Kamala, perfect together, wrong for America. There we go. Well done. That was pretty funny. Slow Joe.
Yeah. Slow Joe.
And phony Kamala. He'll come up with a better nickname for her than that. Although she is rather phony, as you were saying.
Yeah.
She makes Hillary Clinton look like a real boy.
Like, you remember this. What was the story she told about, was it smoking pot or
Listening
something?
To Tupac in a dorm room?
Yeah. Doing the
or at
little
law
dance.
School. And they were like, oh, no, that Tupac album came out years before this, supposedly. Yeah. Or after.
After.
That would make more sense, yeah.
I couldn't remember if it was Tupac or if it was Snoop.
That was Tupac. You got to go Tupac because then she can come out to California Love. Like, I know Snoop is LBC and Compton and all that, but the anthem for California would be Tupac's California Love.
Sure.
I just know because Newsom came out to it the other day. Because when you think Tupac, you think Gavin Newsom.
I bet he can name as many Tupac songs as I can.
Okay.
California Love.
Yeah.
Yeah. No idea. And I used to know hip hop.
Yeah. And that's the era of hip hop that you know, right?
No, it was
a little bit before that.
Yeah, I was Public Enemy, X-Clan, Boogie Down Productions, De La
Run
Soul.
DMC.
Yeah, Run DMC, Cool Mo D, LL Cool J.
Will Smith?
No, not Will Smith.
Okay.
No, he was a sellout, like Hammer. Sellouts.
Gotcha.
Just watch Third Base's video for what was it? As the
Pop
gas
Goes the
face.
Weasel?
Pop Goes the Weasel. That's what it was, because the weasel goes pop. Yeah. No, it was suburban white kids like me that embraced rap in the 80s. That helped bring on the rap hip-hop explosion. And
what was that?
It's a butterfly. Oh. For those that are not watching the podcast, I'm outside smoking a fine cigar, drinking some. It landed on me. My God, it almost took off my arm. Butterflies. So I'm outside smoking a cigar and drinking some iced coffee, enjoying the finer things in life.
Dive bombed.
So there was a piece I wanted to tell you about, and now I have to pull it up because I don't want to get this wrong. Just how crazy things have gotten. You know, we've as a nation, we're losing our collective mind with some of these restrictions. I look in my county in suburban Indianapolis. There have been, I believe, 3 COVID-19 related deaths in the last six weeks.
You guys should lock down.
Right? This is from the Miami Herald. I'm just going to read you the headline. Employees need masks even for at-home Zoom calls, Wisconsin agency says.
No.
Some Wisconsin state officials aren't fooling around when it comes to the spread of COVID-19. In an email to employees sent out on July 31st, the head of Wisconsin's Department of Natural Resources not only reminded employees of Governor Tony Evers' mask order going into effect on August 1st, he also said that every DN officer or DNR employee must wear a mask even while on a teleconference. Are you afraid you're going to get a computer virus? Thank you. I'll be here all week. Try the fish. So, well, this goes back to your argument about Joe Biden not being a good example riding around on his bicycle without a helmet. Listen, we need to take this COVID-19 seriously to the point where if you're sitting at home on a teleconference, on a Zoom call, all by yourself, you should still be wearing a mask.
Well, and it reminds me of an article I saw over the weekend, and now I'm not sure if it's this same exact school district that did this. School district says kids can't wear pajamas for online classes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How will they know? I mean, how would you know?
I don't know.
I'm not wearing pants right now.
There you go. Neither am I.
How are you going to know these things?
They can't sit in bed either.
See, and I don't have a problem with this.
Well, I do, because think about this. You're assuming that everybody has a house that's large enough that they can make an area for the kid.
Right.
As set up a desk or anything like that. But it could be that a bedroom is the only private spot in the whole house for them to actually focus on their schooling. But nope. You can't wear your pajamas. You can't sit in a bed.
You're right. No, you're right. And it's amazing. I talked to my oldest yesterday about this. She has been both of my kids are back at school, virtual
Oh,
classroom,
I
virtual
thought you meant they
classroom.
were.
No, let's not get crazy. We've had 3 deaths from the COVID-19 virus in the last 6 weeks in my county. So, and by the way, the county has over 300,000 people in it. So I'm not talking about a county that has, 1,500. I'm not in some rural county where, my neighbor is 9 miles away. I don't know if you could hear the kids playing in the background or not, trying to catch bullfrogs by the pond. Not my kids, but as far as I know, anyway. But I was talking to her the other day, and the teachers are cracking down on kids on their phones on these Zoom calls because they're looking down. So they're assuming they're on their phone. When you're, if I, we're doing our show right now on YouTube, and if you were looking at me right now, I'm looking down at my phone right now, and it could be pretty obvious that I'm looking down at my phone right now. But my daughter was worried. She's like, I had a bag of pistachio nuts, and I'm looking down to crack my pistachio nuts, and the teacher may think I'm looking down at my phone. These are the things that they have to concentrate on, and again, it's another distraction. These kids are not learning as much as they could, and it's not even close because of this virtual classroom. If you're expecting a high schooler to be able to focus, which I think you can, and my high schooler is mature enough, I believe, to get through this, still not learning as much as she would if she were going to class, but expecting elementary school aged students to be able to learn through virtual classrooms, it's not happening.
No, it's because they're wearing pajamas. That's what it is. I mean, they're enforcing in this Springfield, Illinois school district their regular dress code. So you can't wear a hat or a cap or a bandana or a hood of any type, sweatbands, sunglasses, pajama pants, slippers.
Oh, come on.
Or shoes with wheels. So you can't sit on your bed in roller skates and pajama pants and learn.
I mean, this is just showing more and more how absurd government schools really are. That you would be worried about. Are they doing shoe inspections before the class starts? You're in Indiana. They stopped teaching cursive writing because it's people aren't writing as much anymore. It's everything's you're typing stuff. So you don't want to use the class time for that, but you want to use the class time for shoe inspection in the morning. You wearing your PJs? Do you have your SpongeBob pajama pants on right now?
Are you wearing slippers? Do you even have shoes on?
It's crazy. I mean, you've talked before about Jordan Peterson, and what's one of the things he says the first thing you're supposed to do in the morning is make your bed when you wake up. So I can understand wanting to have some sort of structure in the morning for your virtual, because there's so much of this you can't control, and maybe you feel like you can, and part of you're getting dressed. This is a normal school day. You can't at school wear pajama pants. You can't wear slippers at school. I mean, I want to make this leap and understand it, but it just seems absurd to me.
It seems almost like they just want to make sure they can still exert control remotely.
Well, and then there was I guess there was a teacher that was caught on social media saying that he was concerned that parents could listen in on what they're teaching. And how much of a red flag is that, or should it be for parents that teachers are worried that you may find out what they're teaching your children? I never realized I should have made it a priority to homeschool my kids. But I thought I'm in Indiana. It's, rather conservative state. I live in a conservative area. The schools should be a certain way. And they look, at the end of the day, so much of this stuff is driven by the state and federal government. And doesn't matter what school district you're in. They're filling their heads with a bunch of crap.
Well, a lot of it's driven by the textbooks
mm-hmm.
and what makes it into that and who's making those decisions. And
no, I'm alarmed at the amount of stuff that they aren't teaching kids.
Such as?
My oldest, who has a 4-point grade point average, doing very well, knows next to nothing about how government works, how our government works, how a bill becomes a law, difference between federal government and state government, even history. There was a call, I think, from what was it, a city councilman, maybe it was even in Chicago, wanting to eliminate history, not teach history in public schools anymore. I say, why bother? It doesn't feel like they're teaching it now. Why do you even have to make some grand announcement and try to defund history? They aren't really teaching it now, and if they are, they're teaching it some kind of weird ass history that America's evil, and I don't know. I really am starting to wish that I would have homeschooled my kids or sent them to private school. But even then, you have to be on top of that and wonder if the private school teachers would have that same reaction as this. I think he was in Pennsylvania, this public school teacher that, we don't want the parents finding out what we're teaching the kids. Do you think it's they're worried about what they're teaching the kids? They want the parents to know that, or how ineffective they are at teaching?
I think it depends.
I
mean, the way that guy had phrased it, and I wish I had saved those tweets because he's probably deleted them by now. It sounded like he was more worried that he's pushing kind of a social justice-y agenda, and that the parents would not be friendly to that point of view, and then could undo the brainwashing that he spent all this time building lesson plans around.
Well, I mean, now it's just game on. You're completely surrounded by this. Have you seen any of the ads for Oprah's new white guilt show?
No.
They're having some honest conversations about race on the Oprah white guilt show.
Oh, who have they invited on to have these honest discussions?
Just, middle America, and we're having honest conversations, and you're seeing, I saw one ad where a white woman, she looked like she was, 40, was very apologetic about, she didn't realize how racist she was until they had this talk. And I don't know where this is headed, but if we were really having an honest conversation about race, I think that would be very healthy. Mm-hmm. And we've talked previously on the show about how pretty much if you talk to most people, if they watched that George Floyd video, they were appalled and they were disgusted. I didn't really run into anyone who looked at that and said, "Oh, that was great. Oh, roll tide. We need more of that." Yeah, everyone, for the most part, collectively, we're like, "Oh, that's bad. We need to. There clearly needs to be some sort of reform." And a black teenager walking down the street shouldn't be hassled walking down the street by a police officer because he's black. I think we should all be able to agree on that. And I think we all would agree on. But then there's this leap that no, we can't come together on things that we would all agree on. We have to take it 75 miles further than that, and you should be guilty. You should feel guilty just because of your skin color.
It's big business.
But why? So why is Oprah getting into it? I mean,
Because
she's
big
got
business.
more, but she's got more money than God at this point. I mean, what?
Because she also has an ego. Let's be serious here. Don't you think she wants to lead this discussion, but then curate it?
Now, is she? Do you think? I guess she's got this deal. I think this is the show was on Apple TV, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I've got a story from Deadline that this is a couple weeks ago that they announced this show. It's on Apple. The Oprah Conversation. I guess the premiere episode was July 30th.
Do you think that she doesn't feel as relevant now because she doesn't have her show anymore? And this is a way to look, she's always going to be Oprah. I mean, she's freaking Oprah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a corporation. I mean, Oprah, that's an institution. It's Oprah. You get a car, and you get a car, and you get a car. I mean, people are always going to respect what she built. But, man, when you're not coming out every day to a standing ovation and doing a show.
She was doing shows in this whole time. She had her own network.
Yeah, but she wasn't doing the daily afternoon show anymore, right?
No, no. But they're saying in this article, the Oprah Conversation will premiere on side Oprah Talks COVID-19, because we needed her to do that, and Oprah's Book Club. So, yeah, I mean,
you
don't know.
see these people walk away from these shows, and not just the daytime shows like Rosie, but
So like Letterman leaving his show.
Yeah.
And, you know.
It's got to be a real kick in the pants when you've, especially the last maybe 15 years of your career, when you're coming out to standing ovations every night and not the fake standing ovations like
like they'll have at the DNC next week.
Yes, exactly. Standing ovations that you really didn't deserve because you've only had your show for 2 months and people really don't know who you are. But
like every single standing ovation that Trevor Noah or
yeah,
what's the other guy? Seth Meyers get. Samantha Bee could go in there too.
Oh, Samantha, she's great. Selectively edit video and then do a quick shot of her making some goofy face into the camera. That's comedy. But that has to be a kick in the ass when you're used to that. And then and especially the farewell. I don't know what kind of farewell Oprah had because I wasn't an Oprah fan, but the farewell for Letterman, my God, it was like 2 months long. And every night it was people saying, don't go, even though the network was probably saying, go. Oh my God, you're a fossil. Get out of here. We need young blood. So we'll tap a 50-year-old white guy to take over. But still, and Letterman wasn't like Carson. Carson was, when he was done, didn't do anything else, nothing, never saw him again. He came on Letterman like a couple of times for 30 seconds, and that was it. But Letterman has his show on Netflix now because he does his in front of a studio audience. I don't know if this Oprah show is in front of a studio audience, but
I don't know. Should I try to watch the first episode?
Well, I wonder, is there a promo?
I don't know.
Well, it doesn't matter. You can't play the audio anyway.
Well, I can figure out how to change that again, but.
Well, the ad I saw, it was a 20-second, 30-second ad for the new Oprah show, and it looked like a Zoom call. No one was wearing a mask during the Zoom call, which I found to be dangerous and highly irresponsible. But it was this conversation about race, and I think we need to have a national conversation about national conversations because there are no national conversations. There are national monologues.
I agree.
One side is just supposed to speak and everyone else is supposed to shut up. And that's what the national conversation is.
Well, and it's not like, it didn't look like she was hosting a big panel with a diversity of views. it seemed the one name that I saw was Ibram Kendi, and I've only familiar with him because I've heard the conversation that Eric Weinstein hosted. I don't know if you saw this. I think there were maybe 9 Black intellectuals on this conference call. It was a Zoom. Nobody was wearing masks. And they run the gamut from left to right, but they all kind of have a different idea than this. Yes, we need to tear down cities and, defund the cops and all this kind of stuff. They're coming at it from the other side and saying, yeah, no, that's not our biggest problem. We really shouldn't focus all our efforts on destroying cops. Maybe we should fix education and teach entrepreneurship and these kind of things. She won't have them on, but they brought up this Kendi guy in that conversation, and they all kind of labeled him as dangerous and vitriolic and kind of nasty, and lumped him in with the woman that wrote the white privilege book, whatever her name is, that consultant that's making a fortune doing what consultants do.
Good Lord. We really picked the wrong line of work.
No, I know. Consulting is where it's at, really, fingers.
It is. But she could really lead a national conversation in a very helpful and healthy way, because we are still very much a segregated society. And if you're talking to a middle-aged white woman who lives in a farm town in Indiana who has no Black friends and really doesn't understand how a Black person feels when they walk into a mall and they feel like they're being watched. If you don't have friends that were like I mentioned, a teenager walking down the street, not bothering anyone and getting hassled by a cop, there needs to be this conversation saying, okay, this is wrong. But where you lose me is then when you turn to Becky in Elwood, Indiana, and say, and it's your fault.
Right.
What are you going to do about this? Well, what am I going to do about it? What's your solution? Oh, vote Democrat. Oh, okay. That's the solution. Yeah, that voting Democrat has done wonders for these cities. I keep hearing about institutional racism in cities like Minneapolis and Los Angeles when you've been voting Democrat for 30, 40 years. At some point, wouldn't you say they're part of the system?
That they are the institution, maybe?
Maybe.
Well, that's why I am heartened to see that they keep trying to burn down public buildings, government buildings in these cities. At least they've turned their ire in the right direction. Because it isn't Becky in the rural Midwest that's their problem.
But now they've been able to start the narrative that if you aren't out in full force condemning it, then you're racist, instead of just living your life every day and being a good person and not being a racist. That's not enough. And to me, the social justice warrior shit that has been coming from universities and now is spilling out into the streets in major cities across the country, I keep thinking to myself, okay, this is what is going to shift the election to Trump if the Republican Party is competent in messaging, and if Trump can overcome his shortcomings. If they make the election, hey, our country cannot survive with the social justice warriors in charge with political power. They don't even have political power, and look what they're doing. They're just being the people in office are turning a blind eye to what's going on, and in that they're condoning it by inaction. Although I have to say, it looks like Portland, the local police have stepped up. They've been unleashed a little bit, and are pushing back against, because it's been, what, 3 months now?
70-something days
of this shit. At some point. People are going to say enough.
Well, will they? I mean, every single night it happens. You can get up in the morning and watch the highlights on Twitter.
But what's disturbing is, and I can't say I blame people. I've got a friend, a good friend of mine. This isn't related to the riots. It's related to the COVID-19 stuff. She lives in Virginia. She said, I'm done with Virginia. I can't live here anymore. It's a lost cause. I'm leaving Virginia. You're seeing it in California. I'm leaving California. Joe freaking Rogan leaving California. Think about that. So much of his career is based on not just the podcast, but stand-up comedy. There's no better place to do comedy other than New York than L.A. I'm going to drive down to the comedy club, do a set tonight. I'm not saying you can't do that in Dallas, but it's not the same. He's leaving.
But will it be after this? Who knows how that all shakes out?
Right. Well, just don't go and move to your new place and vote for the same bullshit artists that you voted for that ruined the state that you left.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to hear Rogan's take on Kamala Harris. Because if you remember, he had Tulsi on his show 2 times and loved it when she took down Harris in that one debate.
Kneecapped her.
Well, I think did I tell you on the show about the T-shirt that I saw that Michael Malice shared that somebody sent to him?
No.
And it had a graphic of Tulsi, and it said "cop killer" on it. It took me a minute. I'm like, wait, who? Oh, she killed Cop Kamala. Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
It's just in Tulsi's Still Hot, in case you're keeping score at home.
Well, she's going to need a new job. Oh, she's trending on, there we go. She's trending on Twitter. Yep.
Is she still running for president?
Who?
Tulsi. I mean,
no, I don't think so.
Did she ever back out?
Yes, she did.
Oh, she did? Okay.
Yeah. So the far left is sharing that video of her taking out Kamala all over the place right now.
I'm sure she's getting a primetime speaking gig at the convention.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
No, she wasn't on the list.
I'm surprised. How shocking.
But did you hear about what happened to Joe Jorgensen, who is the Republican, or excuse me, the Libertarian candidate?
She got bit by a bat? Good Lord. Good Lord. How 2020.
I know.
Poor woman.
Oh, man.
Well, it's going to be funny how we're going to now, once again, you already saw the rallying cries from people on the left saying, okay, we're going to rally around the vice presidential nominee. It's going to be a woman, and we are not going to stand for criticism based on gender. It's like, oh, that's adorable. Now we're going to go back to, if you criticize Kamala, you're a sexist.
Of course.
Adorable.
Well, you're a racist as well.
Yeah. So
it's a twofer there.
What about Betsy DeVos? Is she female?
No.
Oh, she's not?
No,
what do we?
Obviously.
Yeah. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the amount of bullshit she took. They made fun of her weight. But if you're a leftist, you nope, no criticism. It's not allowed. You're a sexist. I just have to believe that if you're an independent and you're paying attention, you're just gonna say, "Oh, bullshit." You know what? Trump drives me crazy. But they're making him look like the adult in the room, and that takes a lot. That takes a lot to make Donald Trump look like the adult in the room.
He can't ride a bicycle, though.
So apparently, the woman from Charmed, what's her name?
Alyssa Milano.
Apparently she's in the hospital or had to be hospitalized. I guess she had COVID-19.
Months ago.
Of
course she did.
Oh, are you questioning her honesty?
She's an actress. What do you know what I say about actors?
Refresh everyone's memory, because once again, for those who don't know, if they stumble across the show and don't know your background, you worked in Hollywood. You've worked with plenty of actors and actresses. What's your take on actors and actresses?
Well, most of them are lovely people, but this was just a bit of wisdom that was given to me by a lovely script supervisor I can't remember how it came up. I think it was because there was a dreamy star of this movie we were working on. So all the girls are trying to hit on him. And so I was just chatting with the script supervisor, and he said to me, I don't date actors. And I was like, oh, why is that? And he goes, because they lie for a living. I was like, this is a really good idea. So yes, I questioned Alyssa. It seemed a little convenient, right? She's super political, involves herself in all this stuff, and then she just happens to was she not wearing a mask? I mean, I don't know. Wasn't she safe? Didn't she know all the protocols?
Wasn't she, didn't she take a selfie where she was wearing like a lacy mask? I thought I remembered.
Are you confusing her with John McAfee? Who got arrested for that mask, by the way. He was detained. And yes, that was what his wife tweeted from his account, that he was detained. John McAfee tweeted a picture of himself yesterday or the day before wearing some woman's thong as a mask, just a lacy thong over his face. And they were on their way somewhere in Europe and had a stopover in the Netherlands, I believe. And he said he was being detained, and it was for not wearing the proper mask. And he's like, this is the best mask you could possibly have. I don't know what their problem is.
What happened to that billionaire privilege? Boy,
he's a wanted man by like several different governments. So I just don't think he cares. But yes, Alyssa Milano, back to her. So she had the vid, the Cuban super vid.
Yeah, now she was, and this is terrible. Because I probably shouldn't bring this up, but why the hell not? Apparently she was brushing her hair and showing everyone that she was losing her hair. And a woman said this, gee, you're 47. Yeah, welcome to menopause.
Well, it's also like I could do the same thing with my hair. Mm-hmm. I have long curly hair that I straighten. But when I take a shower, I was told by a reliable source who has her cosmetology license that
thank God she's licensed.
Yes, she is. She was telling me, because she cut my hair for me, that the best thing to do for me would be to use conditioner and comb it through my hair while it's still wet in the shower. So when I do that, I have to use Drano every other week. You think I'm kidding?
No,
this is what happens when you brush your hair and you have long hair. I saw all these men reacting to that. I'm like, you poor guys. Like, I could do the same exact thing.
Men that
have never lived with women. Right. Right. No, it's gross.
I have very thick hair. You wouldn't know because I cut it shorter. I have it in a mohawk. Mm-hmm. My 16-year-old has my hair, very thick, curly hair, long. Oh. And if you look in the shower, my God, it's a jungle in there.
Exactly. And it's probably every time she showers.
Yeah.
She needs to learn this lesson. It's disgusting, but you run your hands through it or your brush, and then you stick it to the shower wall. And then when you get out, you take it all with you. It's vile and revolting, but it's exactly what Alyssa Milano did. I could do that every day when I take a shower.
And she's 16, not Alyssa Milano, my daughter.
Right. But I was just thinking, like, does she not normally do her own hair? And that's what this problem is that she's so used to having her hair and makeup done by somebody else that she might never have realized that's how much hair comes out when you brush your hair, especially when it's wet, because then it's going to break more easily. Like, a lot of people will tell you, don't brush your hair when it's wet.
It makes me upset that she's still hot.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm not upset that she's still hot. I shouldn't say that. I'm upset that I find her hot still.
Well,
I don't want something bad to happen to her. I don't want her to, next time I see her, be horribly disfigured. I didn't mean to make it sound like that.
No.
But
she was angry last week that more people listen to Joe Rogan's podcast than her podcast.
Geez, that's a shocker.
Yeah. Oh, God. Who's the Boss is coming back?
who's screaming for that show to come back? I talk about Hollywood just running out of ideas. Absolutely running out of ideas. But this is a problem that you find for a lot of people when it comes to doing these podcasts. Like we have diehard listeners, but we aren't even close to being one of the most listened to podcasts out there. But so many people who start a podcast think that it's based on, I've got good information. That's so I'll have a good podcast because I will have a list of topics and I know them well, and I will speak to those topics. So I can't understand why would Joe Rogan, a comedian, have a podcast that's entertaining, that people want to listen to, much more entertaining than me just getting in front of a microphone for 45 minutes and bitching about Trump. I can't understand it. Well, I can understand it. People want to be entertained. That's what this is all about. And if you can entertain and also talk about the news of the day, that's great if that's what you're looking for. But you can't just get in front of a microphone, turn it on, and bitch for 45 minutes and not be entertaining, not be funny, and expect people to tune in just because, oh, I was on Charmed. Didn't you hear? They're bringing Who's the Boss back. So you should be listening to my podcast more than Joe Rogan. You're out of your mind. It's by far. I listen. I enjoy Adam Carolla, but Joe Rogan's podcast, to me, it's the gold standard. And I know you listen to more podcasts than I do, but I mean, he's funny. He is never. What's amazing about him is he's able to disagree with someone, and you never see him lose his cool. He never really raises his voice. He doesn't. His body language, the way he sits in a chair, it rarely ever changes. He is able to pull off a show that's informative, entertaining, and one that actually has an honest conversation, to where you may disagree with the person that he's talking to, but at least that you feel like there was an exchange of ideas. And what he does better than anyone, in my mind, is he tries to find common ground even with people who he disagrees with, and to be able to do that for 2 hours, 3 hours, and to be able to talk. I'm going to have an infectious disease specialist on today, and tomorrow I'm going to have on Rob Lowe. Yeah. And it's great. I didn't watch the whole Rob Lowe episode, but Rob Lowe's great. And that show was fantastic. And who's Alyssa Milano having on? I didn't even know she had a podcast until she bitched about how nobody's listening to her podcast.
I know. Now I feel like we need to listen to it and do a review. Maybe we can do it. It's a tips video for her.
And look, maybe it isn't. Maybe I'm selling her short. Maybe she does have an entertaining podcast. But if it's anything like her Twitter feed, why would anyone listen to it? Your much of your brand is based on your social media presence. And if I'm looking at your social media presence and it's nothing but wah, wah, no thanks, I'll pass. Still hot though.
Okay.
Can we call this episode Objectifying Women?
Sure.
Tulsi, Alyssa Milano.
Kamala.
Now, I didn't objectify Kamala. Oh, Kamala's pretty.
I suppose.
Joe Rogan's a good-looking fella, right? Especially for his age. What is he? He's got to be like 55 now, isn't he? He's getting up there.
I think he's 51 or 52.
God bless him. I mean, holy crap. I saw an ad for Mike Tyson was doing something. He was like standing on the beach with no shirt on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's getting ready. I don't know if you saw or not. He's going to do an exhibition fight with, I believe, Roy Jones Jr. on September 11th or 12th. 8 rounds. The dude looks, other than his face, he looks like how he looked in his early 30s, and he's like 55 years old.
Yep.
It's amazing what happens when you take care of yourself.
I don't know that he takes care of himself. Go watch the when he was on Rogan.
Oh, what was he doing?
He brought him this huge stash of Mike Tyson's official pot that he's growing weed.
Well,
he's
Joe
got his
Rogan
own
smokes
strains.
pot.
Yeah, I know. No, it's amazing to me that people can do that and work out. Like, I think Rogan does that and works out. I have no idea how you can accomplish that.
I don't know how you can do that. I mean, I'm not one that partakes all that often. Every once in a while when I'm in Denver, you know.
Yes, in localities where it's legal.
Yes, where it's legal. But I've had it in the past, but I never thought to myself after someone told me to puff, puff, give, man, I could go to the gym right now.
Yeah.
No, that's never happened to me ever. And you see some of the workouts that Joe Rogan does.
Oh, yeah.
It's intense.
It's no joke. No.
Well, this has been a Joe Rogan love fest, too.
It has been.
That's okay.
He deserves it. He should have been the VP. Yeah, I know.
Now, that would have been interesting.
No, they hate him. Come on, don't you remember when he
you can't have
endorsed, and I'm doing air quotes for people who can't see that, he endorsed Bernie Sanders, and all he said is that he would probably vote for Bernie.
Yeah. Well, and then so much of the it's funny. I mean, you see, and you know, I often try to stop myself from having these beliefs because I see it on Twitter, and Twitter isn't real life. But it does feel like much of the narrative is crafted on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And you just see so many leftists just go absolutely ballistic when he has on someone like Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, because that's harmful to allow Ben
Browder.
Shapiro to talk.
Yeah, and make him look human. You can't humanize someone on the right. That's a sin. You know, the right is guilty of this, too, of going into a bubble. Like, I just want to be surrounded by my beliefs and the people who believe what I believe, and I'm only going to get news sources, my news from sources that are approved in my bubble. The left's really like that, too. I don't understand. You would think if you were a leftist, you would think you would want someone like Ben Shapiro on if you truly believed that he was a bigot. And then you would try to bring out his bigotry. Illustrate it. No, you can't even have a conversation.
Give him a platform.
No.
Nope.
You can't going back to that, again, we're going to go back to Rogan's podcast, but when he had Tulsi on, how much she was criticized for going on Fox News. Oh, you can't go on Fox. It's fake news. It's right-wing propaganda. See, I thought you were trying to get votes. I don't know. Trying to get people to vote for you. Why would you not go on the most watched cable news network to try to get votes and stand there proudly and try to sell what you believe to people who will be skeptical of you? But if you come across as reasonable, you may have some people say, you know what, I'll give her campaign a look. I'm kind of disgusted with everyone. Wow. She's got a military background and
she seems like a normal person.
Yeah, normal and reasonable. Nope. Went on Fox. Russian puppet. What an age to what an age to be alive in. I mean, really. Well, we're an hour and 20 minutes in, Tracy.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to talk about?
Not a thing.
You can catch the Enough Already podcast, not only where you caught it, where all good podcasts are found. If you're listening to the show, it's on your favorite podcast platform. But also you can watch the podcast. Tracy puts a lot of work in to make sure that there's a video version of this podcast available on YouTube and BitChute. So find us, share the podcast, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, preferably a 5-star review. It'll get Enough Already podcast in front of more listeners when you do that. We'd appreciate it. Final thoughts, Tracy?
No, I would just tell the fine folks to go check locals, and I'll keep shaming you until you actually post there, maybe once in a while. And then if you'd like to support the show, you can shop through our Amazon portal. I think so far I've gotten one of my parents to do that.
So check out locals. Check out the Enough Already radio page on Facebook.
And we've got enoughalready.media where you can find all the show notes.
Tracy puts those up there, so you can catch that as well over at enoughalready.media. A few plugs I have. Check out the Eat, Drink, Smoke radio program. It's nationally syndicated. I do that with Tony Katz. We're on 51 radio stations across the country. So you check that out on a radio station near you, or again, find the podcast on Apple Podcasts and the Snark Factor radio program that I do in Ann Arbor, Michigan on Wham Talk 1600 AM, 92.7 FM. And one of these days I'll post that podcast as well.
There you go. You can share it on locals. That's what you can post. There's all your plugs.
That's what I can do. Yeah. So, well, there you have it. We're releasing this a day early, but I would think that most people would agree that we are being much more regular now than we would take a month off from time to time, because I just went over my schedule. I'm very busy. Tracy's very busy. And so our schedules don't always mesh. So,
and you're setting them up for us to say, hey, we're going on a break for a little while because we're going to have to, with you traveling and me traveling.
Where are you going?
I'm going to the beach for a week. I'm going on vacation.
Oh, look at you. When are you going? We're just doing show prep.
Well, now it's just, yeah, right. I'm not telling everybody when I'm going. We'll work it out.
Oh, see. Well, I'm going to Texas next month. So
no, you are.
And that'll be fun, and I'm excited to do that. All right, so she's Tracy. I'm Fingers. We will be back soon with an all-new Enough Already.